Hey everyone, this is Jeronica.
This is Andy.
Howdy, it's Dalton, and you are listening to Logging into UKG, a Chicago Users Group production.
The official HCM podcast for HCM admins by HCM admins.
Mm-hmm. Andrew, I believe that you have a new bit of the podcast for us today that you want to go ahead and introduce.
Yes, we're so excited that our word of the episode today is going to be query. Now remember that, write it down, query. Today we're going to be talking about BI reporting, so it's going to be utmost important that you remember that because towards the end of the episode, we may have a special surprise for you.
And apart from the surprise, we'll probably go ahead and touch on queries, how they're used in reporting, and how that can really impact and benefit you by understanding how to use them correctly.
It'll really help tie the podcast together, Lebowski.
I don't think you warned everyone yet with your little sign from Aspire, you might randomly quote movies.
That's right.
I know, hashtag might randomly quote movies.
So what are we talking about today, folks?
BI basics. I think, what's interesting is that you just did this whole shindig with the Chicago user group and you were able to help so many different users throughout there that attend our sessions talking about this topic. I think what's going to be fun today is we're going to go a little bit deeper. We're probably going to shed some light on some new areas that you didn't get a chance to, but I think you are ripe and ready for this. You're going to get us off to a great start. We're excited. I'm sure you've got some fantastic nuggets that you can start us off with, but I think that as we've talked about before, let's start at ground zero. What are the different areas? What are the roles? What are the access levels within BI?
Yeah, I think an important thing, exactly what you said there, Jeronica, is really knowing exactly where you're starting with those access roles. Business intelligence has three access roles. They are the consumer, the author, and the administrator. And not only are there those three roles, but there's those three roles for each module within business intelligence that you can report on. So a quick breakdown of what those are. If you have the consumer role, you can only go ahead and run reports. So if that's all you can do in BI, you might feel yourself a little lost during this upcoming podcast, but no worries, you can still stick around. We're happy to have you. Maybe learn a little bit so that you can go ahead and upgrade yourself in the future to that next role, which is the author level. Andrew, do you want to tell us about the author level?
Sure. The author level, once again, is also available at all those different modules within UKG, but enables users to create and manage the core People Center as well as payroll content, like the using the Query Studio as well as the Report Studio. And then you get the keys of the castle with the administrator level. Jeronica, do you want to do that one?
Sure. I mean, administrators are absolutely cool kids, just like the three of them. So that means we get to open the door, shut the door, determine what level of access, help to structure what that reporting application looks like, from how the folders are set up, what users can see, what access. But more importantly, we get to help train, right? We get to help to deliver content at a high level, as well as manage the overall suite. So the administrators, as Andrew said, are the keys to the castle, and they're probably one of the most key roles. The other thing I think that the administrator does is they don't just manage the portal, they also manage some other really intricate things that people don't know that happens in BI, but it really determines what people can see in the system, which is obviously super important.
So what would you two suggest? Obviously, the administrator level is kind of a given, but for the other two levels, the author and the consumer, what sort of levels within your organization would you recommend have access to these levels?
I want to jump in first and because I have a thought and I always think about this one. So if you are new to the organization, even in HR, and you've never had access, to me, every HR professional should be a consumer, bar none. Doesn't matter if you're a VP or if you're an admin, but if you have access and purview to manage people's data, whether it's recruiting type information or just administrative, right? Consuming data is great. Why? Because as we know, there's hundreds of reports that you don't need to author, you can just consume. So to me, absolutely new employees coming into the organization that manage people or they're managing people's information should definitely at minimum be a consumer, because that's, information is power. That's how you learn, that's how you understand the structure, and that's how you get access without necessarily needing to know how to build a report and take the class. I would say, managers are one, but I always caution it is that if your manager's not running reports and they're not getting in there all the time, you may be able to schedule some reports or give them standard reports. But if you've got some managers that like to tinker and want to go learn about what's going on, consumer's a great role for them, because again, there's just so much content out there that they can pull back. And from an administrator perspective, I think it makes sense. You have folks that are eager, like payroll, even your benefits people, your HRIS team members. They're responsible for manipulating data, right? They're usually responsible for going a step further or providing specifics for your business. And so I absolutely think if they take classes, which by the way, there's a ton of BI classes. And if you ever come to Amstead, we always ask people to take classes. It's a great introduction, but I think you guys talked about that too. Your organizations have, let's go through those basic courses before we give you, the access to write reports so that you're really comfortable in that space.
Sure.
Yeah, be sure to take all the report writing courses that are offered out in the Alta University, or I guess UKG University. It's really going to help lay that groundwork. But that shouldn't be the end of your learning with it. And it probably isn't, which is why you're here listening to us. User groups are a great way to go ahead and further that learning, seeing how other people build their reports and how they utilize BI, and then just really taking the time to tinker around in it yourself. Which actually sort of ties in really nicely to who should get the authorship role. I would say probably anyone who is doing any sort of major data manipulation within the system itself probably also wants to go ahead and manipulate how that data is coming out of the system in a report. I think that's just the quickest and easiest way to lay that out. And it's important to know that although it is part of UKG, it's in the software there, it is an IBM product, and all it can do is retrieve the data. So if you're still learning and you're a new author, know that what you're building within BI can't break your system. You don't want to go into your existing reports that that you really treasure and just, mess around in there. Create a new one, learn it from there. But don't worry that what you're learning as an author is going to, negatively impact the system, is going to break it. I think that's always important to point out to folks, especially when they're coming in.
And that's where those classes come into play.
Agreed. And you had mentioned about the latest monthly meeting from the UKG users group when we started talking about more of the basics of BI. So I want to really throw it back there for everybody, because the purpose of this is to kind of start at ground zero with reporting. How did the two of you learn how to do BI reports? Where did you start from?
At the time, Alta University.
So you did all the trainings? Okay.
I didn't. I've been tinkering with reports back in the AS400 days. And I mean, the reality is I've kind of moved my way through types of different reporting tools, and then I got to BI, and it just kind of was easier for me once I understood how the data. And I think we talked about this on one of our episodes before about how you're utilizing the system to help you understand where the data sits in reporting. And so I kind of took the two concepts and said, here's the data, here it lives on this page. Where does that page show up in BI? And then I took it the step further. Now, what I started to do is I actually also use IBM's website for calculations, because when I first got into BI reporting, there weren't a lot of tools about how to filter, how to prompt, how to create, right, in the old BI days. And so I actually utilized some of their website. I went to IBM's reporting that they had, and then the other place that I did is I like to untangle reports. So I would use the standard or samples and I would back my way into how they got there. Because to me, if I could look at what the end result is and figure out, I'm like, oh, okay, well, they pulled this to get that, or this drove that. And then that kind of helped me kind of reverse engineering a little bit. And but that's how my brain works, right? The classes are fantastic, though. I'll tell you a class I took for at least 10 times, and it was Event Studio. Like, because there's so much you can do with Event Studio, but it's not like a one and done type of class. Like, it's one of those, like, you're like, okay, I caught 10 nuggets, but I got to go back because I didn't get all the nuggets I needed. So to your point, even the classes and actually do really help.
Yeah, it's like they told me that there were 100 gold coins in this in this little module, this class, and I was able to find 9 of them. I guess I'm going back.
That's like literally what it was like. Yes. Yes. And I have to say this though, I do still take classes, right? Because they continue to enhance the module and advance what it can do. And sometimes it's not that easy, right? And if you don't do things all the time, like unions or queries, and because the query is just the basic part of doing it. It's pulling the data into a list type. But if you're doing a union or a join and you don't do those every day, you might need to go back for a refresher. And even folks like us that report all the time, I need a refresher for things that I don't use all the time.
Oh yeah,
it's a muscle memory thing for sure. To be honest with you, when I'm either working with individuals that are new to BI or just doing kind of some random trainings, and I think I even have went through this during the users group call, is figuring out what's going to be the easiest package for you, because there's all the different packages in the system, and where you want to start pulling the data from is obviously going to be dependent on what package that you want. To be honest, I'm a my employee package guy. I want to keep it simple. I mean, sure, the sexy administrator packages out there, and everybody, I want to be one of the cool kids eventually one day and really start utilizing the administrator package, but I like it simple. I'm a my employees package kind of guy, and I like it because if I have a question about something or need to know where I need to pull data from, and this is a good tip for anybody that's first starting out, is as you're looking at the different folders out of the My Employee package, they easily line up to the employee profile in the system. So you could go into personal or the jobs tab and know exactly where that folder is to pull that piece of that data out. So when I first started learning about BI, I kind of faked it until I made it type of approach. I love the My Employee package, but basically I had 2 reports that I had built. One, it was just an all employees list with a crap ton of data in it.
It's insane.
And then I had another report that was the all terminated employees. Again, crap full of data in there. And I knew that if a manager came to me with a request, I could easily take those 2 different reports and blend them together in somehow, some way to be able to get what that leader was looking for. So, and then obviously you start going through and you start learning more about the unions and the joins and all the other functionality within business intelligence from doing all the different trainings. But I just wanted to share that was my first experience with BI. That's how I learned and really got to a comfort level where I could start doing some of those a little bit more advanced things. Or when a manager were to come to me, I knew exactly where to go to be able to pull XYZ of what they were looking for.
I think you bring up a really good point about the My Employees package, because if someone's new, especially if they're just coming out of the consumer's role, an administrator package or some of these other ones are going to overwhelm them. And
for
I
sure.
think that when they're learning how to do reporting, My Employees is the perfect place. And honestly, most all the UKG classes use the My Employees package because it's like the employee profile, and they want you to get comfortable with that. The administrator package is for what Dalton mentioned, the author. It's for the people that are getting a little bit more complex with data. You're needing to combine data from not just in the core employees, but maybe from talent or maybe from security or succession or other pieces of the application. And it's harder, and you don't want to do extra work. You just want it to kind of be there. Because if I don't have to do a join, I'm not doing a join.
Yeah.
I'm just really
Yeah.
just it's just not exciting to do it. But I think you brought up a great point there.
And when you first when you're first working with it, use the stuff that makes sense, like that My Employees
Mhm.
package. And when you think you're ready to start migrating over to the administrators package, something that really helped me is we had an external consultant who was helping us shortly after our implementation to smooth out some of the things within the system that we were still learning and finding out how to navigate. And they were an expert report writer. And so whenever we requested a report, it got to the point where he'd say, all right, I'm going to build this. You're going to come sit with me. You're going to watch me build it. So you can see, you're going to ask questions every step of the way, and I'm going to think out loud as I build it so that you can start to see how you can utilize the different packages. And he had a link to something within the UKG community. I need to find that link again, but it was a link where you can go ahead and find every package, click into the package, and then see every data item, and not just the name, but what it was. So you can just do a control find and be like, hey, I need to see this data item. Where is it within this package? And you can find it and it would show you the exact path. Now, granted, it's a little, you don't have to do that as much now because there's that search feature right there within BI, which is so nice, but that didn't used to exist.
Well, I think that'd still be helpful though, because you said it and my eyes kind of lit up only because the search feature returns that every single time. And if you don't understand how to look and see what particular part of the package that item came from, right? You may pull back the wrong version. Or if you don't understand the symbols to know if it's a calculation versus if it's just a text item, I think that I'm like over here, like, where is that? Like, send that to me. I want to get my hands on that because there's still some items I'm like, okay, I have to think about where they live. Like, I know they're in there and I know I can report on it, but I'm like, I don't know. And I spend 20 minutes just kind of opening the sections, I think. Then you go over here and they're not just easily to combine. So, that'd be interesting to have. I didn't know that existed.
Yeah, I'll have to find it again because that was from pre-COVID times. So we'll see if it still exists, but
Cross our fingers it exists.
Yeah.
Right.
I have a question. I know you have some questions for us, Andrew, but I have a question for the group real quick. And that is, what is a hint or something that you would recommend to someone? So we're talking about, getting started. Sort of like hey, you've had your basics. Like, what is like the smallest step you can take to go just a smidge beyond the basics, like a 1.5, but that really you think has changed how you can report? It's the smallest thing, but really it has impacted you and you think others should know.
I'll, Veronica, if you don't mind, I'll take this one first. Mine is to see what's out there in the sample reports and start. Hopefully, I just took
I'm mad at you right now.
Tinker with the sample reports, because not only are you going to be able to understand what the sample reports are going to do for you, but it gives you an opportunity to start getting comfortable in building or like at least expanding upon reports. So then you could take that next level. And when you get that leader, whomever comes to you and says, hey, I need XYZ report, if it's not in a sample report that you can do some just minor tweaking to, then you at least have a good basis to create a report from scratch and be able to know what different fields you need to bring into it. So mine would be is utilize the sample reports and then just build upon those.
Okay, Andrew, fine. Since you decided to steal my thunder, okay, I can find, because there's a lot of little things you can do, and that was like definitely one of mine. That's why I'm like, dang it.
Did I outbeat the cool kid?
That's why I'm gonna go first. I'm like, oh no. So the other ones that I think to kind of spin off of that, if you're taking a generic list report, right? I think here are 3 things, and I know I went a step further, but 2 within a list report, and then there's 1 extra. Filtering. People don't realize within the package on the right-hand side, you can right-click and filter directly from on an item. That is so simple. And I see a lot of people get out of the system and then do the filtering when you can automatically have it filter. And the same one is prompting. Prompting is not as hard as people think it is if you do it from where the package lives and you're not creating this crazy prompt page. But if you right-click on it and you like, I just want to create a generic date, or I want to be able to search last name, and you right click, those two little things just on the left hand panel by, I think, right clicking on your mouse. Yeah, right clicking. I had to like mimic it. Those just pop up. And now you've taken yourself one step further with even some data that you would have pulled out of the system and probably had to do a couple of extra steps. So those are very simple. And then the other one I think that doesn't get enough shine, that actually the dashboarding is not that bad. Like it's not easy in the greatest way to expose it out of the system. But again, if you're trying to learn data and you want to see some basic generic HR data, and even a little bit more generic, it's more than that. So easy to create and they have sample dashboards to kind of start to get a familiarity with your business by using some of those. What's my total active head count? What's my total turnovers for this? And that to me doesn't really get talked about much anymore, but it's definitely a tool that can be used because you can export it in a PDF if you're going to a meeting, or you can just have it because you don't want to run the report, but you want to see how many heads, how many terms did we have? How many new hires did we have in this period? You go to that dashboard, it renders, and you're like, okay, cool. We had X, Y, and Z, just very small things.
And sometimes that dashboard visualization will help drive it home more than, any of that raw data that you can pull.
I agree. Yes.
The one thing that I want to say, and I think it ties in nicely to the first two that you had said regarding filtering and prompting within there, is especially if you're doing a list report, get used to building it in a query first. Again, there's our word of the episode. And then go ahead and put it into that list on the page. It's the smallest little step, but it's a great way to start seeing, sort of like wrapping your head around that back end of the BI reporting. And a great way just to think of it is look at the query sort of, you have your package, which is the list of all the ingredients you can possibly use. Your query is going to be your mixing bowl. You can go ahead and put it in. And then your page is going to be whatever your final output is. That's the final baked goodie. So you can go ahead and take things, put it into your mixing bowl that you don't want to see on that final end, or that might not be very visible. Things like, hey, I know that I want to go ahead and filter by company or by an organizational level. I'm putting that from my package into my query mixing bowl. I'm using that filter that Jeronica said. And then I don't even have to put that org level or that company code into the final report if it's not needed. But now it's in there. Your final report looks a little cleaner. You've taken just that tiny little extra step, and it's really going to make what your output is look a lot more professional while giving you that understanding with just a small change.
With just a dash.
Exactly.
Are we going to name this podcast BI Cooking with Dalton? Or
right, just a sprinkle. So where's the icing? Because you didn't finish that little cake.
Right.
Oh, we made a whole cake, but we didn't get
the icing is when you go ahead and start to learn some of the more advanced things, and you can do things like, hey, I want to go ahead and format this report before I export it. I'm doing colors. I'm doing fonts. And that's just a nice little like pizzazz added.
Ooh, that's the cherry. So stay tuned for that episode too, because he's already letting you know that we're not going to stop after we're done talking about basics. We're definitely going to go a step further, but I think this is some good stuff. What other things do we want to talk about when it comes to reporting?
What I guess, why is BI reporting so scary?
I think because I have a thought, and this is, most people aren't native reporters, right? This isn't something that most people do, and technology is still scary for a lot of people. Understanding how the back end of the system works and how data correlates with the system, that's still a scary thing. and it's daunting when you get in a bit and you've got folders and you've got this navigation path, and I just want to run a report. I just want the information to just show up in my face. And I
Yep.
think that most people, even I see more people more comfortable with creating a list report or having someone run it than even going and looking at the sample reports, because there's so many to choose from and they don't know which one to pick. So I definitely think that it gets a bad rap, but I think there's an uncomfortable level with going back to, I think, what Dalton said, which is so true. They think they're going to mess something up, but
Yeah.
they aren't. They don't get that this is your world, your oyster. You're just extracting data. Play to your heart's content, but there's a fear of, if I run the wrong information, if I don't pick the right thing, and then I present it to an executive or whomever, and they're like, this isn't right, then you feel like, I believe people feel a little bit less confident about their ability to report.
Yeah, and it's an old cliche as well about good data in is only going to produce good data out. Good data out. The topic of this episode is all about reporting, and so it's, yeah, what are you going to be able to produce out of it? And you're going to have those types of situations where there is that fear of, I'm going to run this report and it's going to be bad data. People are going to look down at me and say, this isn't right, or why does this look like this? I think the other thing that BI gets a bad rap on is when you start getting into a little bit more of those complex reports, or even just playing around with some of the sample reports, and you want to add a field, and then all of a sudden that big error message comes up that says, "Oh my God, no, you can't do that," and that could be scary. That could be a little get you down a little bit, because you don't know why that happened. And so that's why training's important. That's why getting in and doing it and experiencing those errors and understanding and peeling back that curtain a little bit to understand, why is this error coming on up? Is it because of the join, or is it because I'm in the administrator folder and I'm pulling something that doesn't really go together? So I think BI gets a bad rap from being scary like that, but again, it's just practice. It takes time. It takes understanding to know what you're grabbing and know what you want out of the report, so that those errors won't be as scary in the future if they were to come up.
Mm-hmm. One thing I really want to point out is, you guys had both touched on pulling bad data and people getting upset about that. And Andrew, I think it's very important, good data in, good data out, bad data in, bad data out.
Yeah.
If your fear is bad data, the nice thing is that the cure for that fear is the BI solution itself. Because you can build reports to go ahead and start to audit that data.
Yes.
Before you even have to present it out. So if that right there is your core worry, learning BI is actually going to help you overcome that, because you'll be able to fix that bad data.
100%.
So I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing.
But you said something that now it brought a question. So what do you do when you get that error? Like, if you get an error when you're in the middle of building a report, or you're running a report, and then you get that pesky little red words that you're like, gosh darn it, how do you resolve it? What are some steps that you might take in order to determine how to fix that?
I shut down, log off, and go home.
Andrew's like, I'm done for the day.
Oh my gosh. He's just like, I quit, I give up. No, that's not what he does. It's not what he does.
I think the two easiest things to do is, first, just start to read the error.
Yes.
It's going to look long. It's going to look intimidating, but usually right there within the first little bit, it's going to tell you what space number you're running into the error. Mm-hmm. And you can go ahead and just count that out and go, like, even if it's just, your finger on the arrow key, and be like 1, 2, 3, until you find that space in whatever it is where that error is.
Pray it's not 439 or something.
Right.
I mean, it happens. I've done it. It's not as fun, but the other thing is, if it's not immediately evident to you, go to the community.
Yes.
Go to that chat function right down there in the bottom right, open it up, tell it that you're going to go ahead and ask a question about reporting. And you'll go ahead and get someone live on that chat. And you can go ahead and put in what your error is and what your report is, and they can help you.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
They have a chat feature? Where
Yeah.
have I been? I was just gonna say drop the error in the community search bar and pull
Oh,
it
you can do that too.
Yeah.
Here's a wait. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Sorry,
What-
all of our listeners. Time out. I'm learning on the fly. We now have a chat feature.
Yeah. So if you go ahead and go into the community in the bottom right, and you, depending on how your screen formats, you might need to scroll down to the bottom of the page for it to appear. There is a little sort of like rectangular oval feature where you can click on it and chat with us. You can open a case via there, or you can chat with someone directly. And if you go ahead and choose that it's a BI reporting thing, in most cases, it's not going to go to a case. It's going to go to a live person. And if it's just a small error, they'll help you fix that. They've done it multiple times for me. They've done it multiple times for folks that I've worked with. If it's a big issue, they might tell you, hey, we have service requests where you can pay for this giant report you're working on. But if it's truly something small where, hey, it's user error, it's just a small learning thing, they'll help you right there. And it's wonderful. And I want to shout out the people who are manning that chat.
Oh,
Because y'all saved my bacon so many
those
times.
poor BI specialists, they don't know what they're getting into now.
Uno momento while I go find the message us button, which I just found. And so I don't even have a question, but I'm going to test it out after this call.
Yeah, and I will say, you know, sometimes it'll take a moment to get you connected with someone. You'll put in your information. It might take, you know, an hour plus sometimes if it's really busy to get someone. But once they're there, they're going to help you. And the one or two times they haven't been able to help live, they've created a case, looked into it, and gotten back.
Well, I think it's also important to point out that these folks are here to help. They're not here to
Yes.
build the report for you.
Mhm.
So it takes,
Yes.
it's going to take some effort on your part to at least, I like to think of it as like the 80-20 rule. If I can get about 80% of my report done, and maybe it's that last little bit or that last maybe 20 that I have a question about, sure, you know, that's a good outlet for it.
I like that you said that 80-20. And I think one other thing that we didn't touch on is BI Exchange. Like that's a very basic item, right? I don't want to call it basic. It's not a basic item because the people that put their work out there, they've usually done a good amount of work. There's not basic reports out there. These are people that have created pretty complex reporting. And to your point that you made about kind of going through the community, going through the sample reports and kind of learning it and tweaking it. The BI Exchange reports are similar. You know, you're copying that and you're putting that in there, and that's a pretty easy function.
For our listeners that may be new that might not know what the BI Exchange is, do you want to kind of give it where you can locate it and what its purpose is?
I do know where that is. Considering I didn't know where the chat is, definitely know where the BI Exchange. BI Exchange, I'm a big fan of it. I've always been a big fan of it. I've never been able to successfully load a report to it, but I definitely use it. BI Exchange is one of those things under the Learn section within the system. It's moved a couple times, but if you go to Learn and then UKG Pro, under UKG Pro, there's a couple one. There's a BI Exchange overview, and then there's BI Exchange. What is it? It's basically end users like ourselves that create reports, and usually they're fairly complex reports. Or dashboards even. I've seen dashboards out there, and we load them to this Exchange community where other BI users can download that same report and load it into their environment to be able to make it their own. It's a really great tool, and it's very easy. Like in the right section, if you want to copy what we call the XML, right, schema, which every report has it. All of your reports, the back end of the report is essentially script, right? Yep. And you don't see that. You see the query portion of it. You see the nice, query. You see the nice portion of it. But if you wanted to go to the back end, you could. But there's a little section within a basic report that you can open a clip, download this to your clipboard, copy and paste it. And usually the reports have gotten better, guys. I don't know if you've noticed. It used to be you'd get those reports and you'd have to tweak all of this stuff because it's tailored to their company. And so you've got to undo some stuff like that. But now I see more reports which generic enough that it just
Mhm.
runs off of your information, which is fantastic, but it's a great way to get in there.
That's important to point out, because one of the things that for listeners that might be new when we're talking about queries and posting your company's queries out there and using queries that are from other organizations, don't worry. If you copy and paste another company's query into your own environment, it's not going to produce their company's information. It'll pull from, depending on what the report is and what those fields are in your organization's environment, it's going to pull that data, not their data.
Yes.
I was just scrolling, and just to find out, we're well over 500 reports. It's got to be thousands at this point, and that's good news for you, because now you've got the sample reports and the demo report, all that good stuff. Plus, you have BI Exchange, which has, I would say, probably over 1,000 reports, because we're in the M's and it's at 600. So there's probably over 1,000 reports out there. And I know that inside of your BI application, there's at least 300 to 400. So you're talking about almost 1,500 reports that you don't even really need to create yourself. You can just pull down from either the BI Exchange or from the sample reports. And the other thing is, I can't remember which one of you mentioned this, but I'm sure the ones that have come before you have written reports as well. And I think that was Dalton. Just remember, don't tweak it to the point where you mess it up. But if you make a copy of it, now you've got even another report that maybe someone that worked at your organization or someone else that created it made a really good report. It's very possible.
And work smart, not hard.
Oh, yeah.
If you can, manage that part. There are all these reports that Veronica just talked about. Like, in most cases, you don't, especially if it's a more standard or a more basic report, you don't need to do anything from scratch. You can take an existing report from somewhere, put it in, and then make the couple of tweaks you need so that you're not having to spend the time building it from the ground up.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions? No.
I feel like this is a very good entry into the BI and the reporting world. Hopefully, our listeners take a few nuggets away. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is more of a part one of a multiple different series of episodes in talking about reporting. Just wanted to lay the groundwork. And the unfortunate thing is, because we're in a podcast medium, it would be nice to share screenshots or be able to walk individuals through different processes. But there's a whole community out there of support and individuals of all different levels of BI reporting that are passionate about it and that want to help.
If you do want to see like those screenshots, they're going to be out there in the community from people who have already posted. They're going to be in the UKG University courses that you take. They're going to be in the February 2024 presentation from Andrew that we went ahead and recorded, and you can go ahead and access. If you don't have the link, just email ukgchicagoug@gmail.com, and we can send you that recording. You'll see exactly what some of the stuff we've already talked about. That presentation is a great 1.0 for reporting. I feel like this conversation is like a good 1.5, and we're just going to keep going from here.
Absolutely. What's new for this podcast, and how is this? Are we linking it to the upcoming users group call?
We are. So as Andrew had mentioned at the beginning of this call, we had a word of the episode, and as we've said a few times, that word of the episode is query. So something that we're going to start doing, as this podcast is a Chicago users group production, we also have monthly meetings where we go over different topics to go ahead and let you see how other individuals use the same system that you have. The final part of those meetings is a quiz where we go ahead and quiz you on some of the material presented. And the first person to answer correctly for each question gets a gift card. With this new word of the episode, one of those quiz questions will ask what the word of the episode was. And the first person to put that in there correctly will go ahead and get a gift card. This way we can go ahead and start bridging the gap between those who attend the meetings and those who listen to the podcast, so that hopefully we're really creating one larger supportive community where we can really help each other out. So again, word of the day, query. Singular. Query.
With that being said, we are logging into UKG, a Chicago Users Group Productions. Signing off. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Have a good
everybody.
one all.